This is Dr. B, host of The Dr. B Show, where he interviews top entrepreneurs and breaks down what actually works in business. And this is George Rivera, a founder who's done over $400 million in sales and helps business owners buy back 10 to 20 hours a week by removing themselves as the bottleneck. If you want to learn how founders escape founder prison and get their time and life back, this is the video you need to watch.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Dr. B Show. I'm here with the great George Rivera. George, how are you?
Good, Dr. B. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. That's actually my middle name.
Hey.
Jairo Borja. I love it. It's a fun fact, a fun little fun fact. Let's
Nice.
jump right into it, brother. Tell everyone
Do it.
about yourself.
Yeah, well, good question. Well, like you said, my name's George Rivera. I'm a husband, I'm a father of four, and I help cash-rich, time-poor founders buy back 10 to 20 hours plus a week without sacrificing growth, by removing themselves as the bottleneck and installing an owner OS that runs the business without them. My edge here is that I've lived both sides. I've built and scaled real businesses with real stakes. I've done over 400 million in sales in my 30 plus years online. And I've felt the hidden cost, the calendar that owns you, the constant, cortisol, dopamine loops, the false progress that look productive, but quietly steals your life at home. And I drew a line in the sand around what matters most. And I'm basically not building success that my family only hears about, but they don't really ever get to feel and experience with me. So my buyback time formula, something that I put together, it's not productivity, it's identity level reinvention, from heroic operator to present husband and father, from being busy to completely sovereign, from I have to do it to the system does it for me. And so my formula is the formula that turns a founder's success into a life that they actually get to live while the business keeps winning. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
I love it. And I know when we met previously, you spoke about like being present, right, for your children and in their games and all that. So I know that's very important to me as well. So
Yeah,
yeah, so we'll chat more about that in a little bit. So I love that.
absolutely.
But before we get into that, um, I'm very big on education, so I'm always going to ask an education question first. So, you got
Yeah.
your marketing degree from University of the Incarnate
Word.
right?
Yeah.
Right. Did you think that experience help you, if at all? Did it set you up, at least with a network or structure, or if anything, did it help you?
Yeah, so we're talking now, yeah, over 20 years ago. So I think dinosaurs roamed the earth around that time, a long time ago. And yeah, I'd say, like, looking back, I'm thankful that I went to the university. It gave me the confidence to be able to accomplish things, and kind of a big deal to get a college degree. Not everybody has one. But yeah, I went in to go for pre-med. I thought I was going to follow in my dad's footsteps and get a medical, follow the whole medical path. But in the middle of my college career, I'd started my business a few years prior, and I actually started generating a doctor's income, in my junior year in college. So I was like, you know what, medicine and this business are like completely different paths. So I was like, let me just do something that's already working in my favor in a business that I already have traction in. So yeah, I switched to a marketing degree, and I even was able to teach one of my classes as like I don't know, maybe like a student teacher kind of thing, but I was given the podium for a whole session to teach on e-commerce because it was like such a new thing back then. This is like, yeah, late 90s at this point. So yeah, at the end of the day, I can't say that it super helped me in what I'm doing, from learning certain strategies from the book itself, because internet's evolving so much. So in that sense, maybe a little bit at the time, but yeah, I mean, it's great for networking. You see people who've been to your school, and hey, just to say that hey, we went to the same university, like you might as well be best friends, when you find people that go, especially in a small university like that one. So yeah, looking back, I'm very thankful that I went. So yeah, that's what I can take from going to college back in the day.
I love it. Yeah, I think for some people, isn't necessarily like, yes, it's about the degree, but it's also about the experiences and who you meet and all that as well, like the network, right? So for sure,
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Let's dive into. I did some research on you, and then what is the 10K hour filter? How can founders use it this week to kind of reclaim time?
Yeah, absolutely. So the 10K hour filter, that was just my number, but it can be any number, but you just figure out what's your number. For
Sure.
me, I realize that when I'm in my peak, work, the stuff that only I can do, I put a $10,000 per hour value on that. For others, it could be 500, could be 100, doesn't matter what it is, but figure out what that number is. And then when you do that, you're going to have something to measure everything else you do against. So let's say that, for example, you do what's called a freedom audit. That's what I teach in my process. You go through and see what are all the things that you're doing with no judgment, just like document as if you have a camera on you 24/7. And then you're going to uncover some things that you're doing that you shouldn't be doing. And then all those things you're going to compare. How does that match up to in my case, 10K per hour? But anybody else could be 500, could be 100, whatever that is. And you're going to see, okay, 70-80% of what I'm doing could be done by somebody else for a much less hourly rate than what I value my own hourly at. And so when I did this for myself, I discovered, at the peak, I was working 80 hours a week sometimes. I didn't even know we had that many hours in a week. But yeah, and I discovered that 40 of those hours could have been done by somebody who I could pay $50 an hour or less. So I'm not a mathematician, but some quick math is, 40 hours times $50 equals $2,000 per week, which is could be a nice income for somebody. But, at that time I had essentially a business that was printing money. So like for $2,000 a week, I could have bought back half of my time, would have bought back a lot of my sanity, as well as allow me to spend time in the higher level activities that really primarily a founder or the business owner, those are the things they should be doing on to advance the business, like strategic relationships. If you're in marketing, thinking about new opportunities, new areas to market into, or new products or new launches and whatnot. So yeah, that's kind of high level, the 10K an hour filter, if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense, right? It's all about, especially like for those that are listening that are in the STEM or STEAM field, right? It's all about numbers, right? And metrics, right? So how much you need to make per year, and then per month, per day, per hour. So it makes a lot of sense. And basically, how can you buy back your time, right? Pun intended. And we'll discuss the book in a little
Yeah.
bit as well. I love that. I love that. I also did some research on you. And what is the father first owner OS? How does that make a company run without the founder? I guess this is alluded to what you was chatting about before, right?
Absolutely. That's all part of the process, is discovering the things you can get off of your plate. Yeah, the owner OS, and I like to add the father first there, or, kind of father theme, because I'm, family first, father first perspective here. But really, it's an operating system that the business owner implements to essentially buy them their freedom. At the end of the day, the goal is to be able to take 2 weeks off while the business grows. For most people, if they were to take any time off, their business would essentially fall apart, because they've built the business to sort of like, they're propping up the business on their shoulders. So yeah, absolutely. Like, if anybody's listening, don't step away from your business right now. It's not ready for that. But the owner OS essentially is the process of making it so that you could step away from it and the business doesn't fall apart. And that's doing things like installing a true number two, like a second in command, having a weekly operating cadence to sort of continuously see like what's going on, but at a high level, not in the nitty gritty. And we do other things like the value recovery lever, is we pull that lever. Things like cutting waste, reducing taxes, unlocking cash flow. I know those are kind of specific things, but yeah, it's all about all that contributes to buying your freedom, essentially. But I'd say high level, it's the ability to take a couple of weeks off while the business still grows. That's how you know that you've built a business that can run without you.
Agreed. I'm not there yet, so I can't walk away. So I do have a team,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, it lives and dies through me. But I'm working towards
Hey,
that. I'm working
baby
towards that.
steps.
Baby step. Exactly. Exactly. Exactly, man. Hey, just wanted to continue the conversation, right? So you also spoke about um, it reminds me of delegation, very important, right? So, how do you delegate outcomes instead of tasks so that you never have to take that money back, right? You spoke about the 2000 as an example, right? So, how do you delegate outcomes instead of tasks? That's very powerful. What does that
Uh,
mean?
uh, Yeah, absolutely. So like the old me, I would have told you, hey, I'm delegating. When I reached burnout, it's like me here, the world's worst, structure, me here, and then 40 people beneath me. I would task or delegate down to them, and it would just boomerang back up to me. I'd run from the future by just saying, hey, it's quicker if I do it myself. And yeah, it's quicker that one moment, but you do that over and over. Now you've got people who you're paying, but you're actually doing the work for them. Kind of insane. And I was insane for a long time until I kind of figured all this out through trial and error. But now what I do is when I delegate something, I do it by assigning ownership, like you own this process, and you're responsible for the outcome. And if you hire the right person, which is also part of the process, you give them the liberty to improve it and to make it more efficient. And so in doing so, I've realized that once I delegate with ownership, it doesn't come back to me like it used to. And that's what truly buys my freedom. And there's a process a little bit more detailed on, okay, how do you do that process? Happy to chat about it. But yeah, high level is transferring it with ownership and giving them the liberty to improve upon the process.
Yeah, so basically empowering them, having them involved in that process, which have ownership in essence. You're not just delegating and then you having to be involved in QA, quality assurance. That am I right? Is that
Yeah, exactly. And you're showing them this is what the outcome looks like. Again, the old me would have said, here, do this. And then I hope that the outcome's like what I want it to be. And often it wouldn't be. But now it's like, okay, this is what success looks like. And here's the path to get there. And now it's like, communicate with me if you have any questions on how we get there, because I'm attentive. I'm here right now. Okay, yes, no, yes. Okay, good. Then you own that task now, and it should not come back up to me unless there's a structural change or a vendor change or something where we need to update it. But assuming that doesn't happen very frequent, it's like it's out of my mind and it's on their plate and it's part of their responsibility.
I love that. I love it, love it, love it. Let's talk about founders, right? So where do 7 to 9 figure founders bleed the most time, and how do you think they should buy their time back 10 to 20 hours a week?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just doing the things that we as founders should not be doing. And a lot of founders kind of already know that, but there's this identity that we have, and I speak from experience. It's like, I'm the best one at doing this, and it's so critical to the success of my business. Or, if somebody gets this wrong, it's like a massive mistake. And again, I've been there before, but the way that you get through and past that is that you got to properly train them and make sure that they understand, how to do it so that you could step away with confidence. For me, it was just poor explanation, poor showing them what the outcome's supposed to look like. And that's why I had little faith in the people that I was paying to do what I was stressing over and actually doing for them. So, yeah, I think a lot of founders find themselves doing things that they know they shouldn't be doing. Maybe a lot of things that they're paying other people to do, but it just rolls back up to them. So my goal, my mission, my desire is to get them to open their eyes and say, hey, there is a better path. You don't have to stay stuck in what I call the founder prison and feel like all that responsibility is on you.
Yeah, I'm guilty as charged. Sometimes I get too involved in the minutiae of like whether it's like the grant writing still and like just forget it, let me do it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, yeah.
I think I need to, and I'm guilty as well, need to like let them fall like a baby, right? Let them fall, let them fail a little bit, and then let them figure it out as well, right? That makes sense.
That's it. That's it. Otherwise, you're
Yeah,
going to get pulled back in all the time. They're going to get stuck. We can't make a decision without Dr. B approving it.
right,
And
right.
so you need to give them decision rights. You need to let them know, okay, this is how much freedom you have. If it's anything above this, yeah, let's talk about it. But if 90% of things will fall under the decision rights that you give them, that's how you buy your time back essentially.
I love it. I love it. And I appreciate you. You spoke about this before, man. The 2 week vacation test. So when should someone even attempt that? Unfortunately for me, I could do a weekend test, but not a
Yeah,
not a 2 week vacation test. So tell us about
absolutely.
that. Expand that a little bit more.
Yeah. So according to my philosophy, like you can say that my business can grow and thrive and work without me when you can be gone for 2 weeks, and that's truly the result. So that's when I know that the pinnacle of transformation has been reached. So when I work with a client, and this can be done, people can do it on their own through a process, but it's like, hey, George, help me out with this. When do we schedule our 2 week trip? And usually it's me telling them that because they don't even think that's possible. So on our onboarding meeting, I'm like, look at your calendar, look 6 months from now, give or take a month or two, because we got to figure out when it works for the family schedule. But there's always going to be some time 6 months from now to figure something out. Block out 2 weeks. We're gonna, book the flights, get the hotels. We're gonna invest in it so that it's really gonna happen, not just something we talk about. And I tell them this, and they're going to be like, yeah, I can't even take an hour off in the afternoon. How am I going to take 2 weeks off? And I'm like, I love that you said that you need this more than you know, if that's your response. And so, like, it pumps me up to hear that because that's like most people's response. And we start today. The clock starts right now. That's how we do it. And then so over time, and over time's like the initial 90 days is the goal to experience a transformation. We start figuring it out. Within the first 2 weeks, we identify the low-hanging fruit that we can start removing immediately. But the goal is transformation in 90 days, so that between the end of 90 days and that 6 months, there's a few months in there where we will do rehearsals and practice time away. So, first we might start with an afternoon off, then a couple of weekdays, and then maybe a long weekend, attaching a weekday on either side of the weekend. And what's going to happen is maybe something slips through the cracks. Maybe, accounting doesn't get an invoice. Maybe fulfillment, they don't get the notice. We fix all that. So those aren't critical, destroy your business if it happens. It's just, oops, yeah, maybe a payment goes out a day later than we normally do. Those aren't critical. So you want to make sure that when you step away, you do a rehearsal to see what little things fall through the cracks. As you come back from your mini little rehearsal trip, you button all that up so that when the 2-week trip comes, you're like, hey, we're good. We did a little stress test and all the things that could break broke. And yeah, now we're on our trip. We've installed a true number 2, like the owner OS requires. And so everything stops at that number 2. Nothing penetrates to the founder while they're gone, unless it's like something life or death. And I've done this so long that it's never happened, but you'll still get the person like, okay, well, what's an example of something that can penetrate that? I'm like, okay, I don't know. A legal threatening issue where the founder needs to come back and sign something or be present for a document, or maybe the founder is like the signer on a bank account and funds are frozen. Like, so it's never happened to me, but I'm just like making up extreme scenarios to put people at ease. Okay, so yeah, that's never happened to me either. So yeah, we're probably going to be pretty good.
That's a great way to put it. Stress test, a short
Yeah,
trip, and then if you pass that, then you could graduate to like a 2 week down the road. I love that. I love it. Makes sense.
absolutely.
Makes a lot of sense. Is there any like systems or scoreboard or decision rights that you could install for like quick wins, you think?
Yeah, so scoreboard, for example, is just what are the key metrics in your business. Every business is going to be different, service-based, SaaS, say coaching, for example, like all of them require different things. So like for my supplement company, it'd be traffic. So how many clicks did we get to our offers? That's one metric. And then the conversion rate, and then the sales, and then the revenue. So like if I can get all that in a daily snapshot, I'll know that my business is operating in a healthy way, versus the old me was like checking the CRM and running numbers like, okay, here's clicks over here. Let me get into this other system, pull sales. Let me manually calculate conversion rate. Okay, let me now freak out because I don't like that. So it's like all in a nice snapshot, and you have somebody else doing this for you. There's also systems that can automate, but everybody's got different systems, so it's hard to do a blanket, suggestion for how to create the scorecard. But it could easily be done by a VA who knows where to pull the numbers from, and so that in the morning, in my case, I wake up, I look, I see, okay, yeah, this is how much traffic we had, conversions, revenue, we're good. Or, oh, I see a little trend here. How do we fix the trend? And we can really attack the issue right away instead of just trying to, figure out where's the bleeding happening. So that's the scoreboard example. The one about decision rights, and I touched upon it a little bit earlier. For example, my team would come up to me and say, hey, can we buy this $50 thing? Or can we refund this $200 order? Or insert business request for dollar amount. I came to this blanket conclusion of anything under $1,000, you have liberty to do. You can refund it, you can buy it, you can subscribe to the subscription. And of course, like that's great. That reduces like 95% of, hey, can we do this or that? If it's expensive, then yeah, let's talk about it, because we got to see if there's a ROI to be had, or is this going to help us in an efficiency way or something. Like, how's this going to improve our business? And of course, you don't just want to give them a blanket approval to buy everything under 1,000 and get 10 different services on a $500 a month recurring, because that's not smart either. But like I mentioned in my the operating system, you're going to have a weekly operating cadence where you review, okay, what were the purchases that we made with the freedoms that we have, with the decision rights that we have? Okay, how did that turn out? Great, let's keep it. Or okay, let's cancel it because we tested it. So it's not like just give them liberty and then you forget about it, because that's how you run up expenses that oh my gosh, we got 20 grand we have to cut, how did we get here? So that's an example of decision right. So that reduces the noise that the founder gets, and then any of that quote noise that would have made it comes up in a structured way during a 15-minute meeting to talk about this with patience, with no panic, with structure versus the reactive way that most entrepreneurs and founders function.
I love it. I love it. This is fantastic. This is a fantastic conversation. I knew it would be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be good.
Awesome.
Be good. Yeah, it's so important to have those scorecards and those
This,
mechanisms or
yeah.
to have
Decision
accountability.
rights.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
exactly, exactly. All that in place. Absolutely. I'm gonna get a little personal before we wrap up, right?
Let's
So
do it.
this all began, I guess, the genesis of it, right? Began when we had a separate conversation off the air in regards to like your dad's regrets, right? About missing games, right? How did that shape into like now you're buying back your the time formula book, being involved with your children, right? So tell me how did that help, right?
Yeah, no, thanks for bringing that up. That's really the foundation of my whole mission. And my dad's biggest regret became my biggest mission in life. First, it had to apply to me, so I didn't really think about anybody else. When I heard, I'm like, oh my gosh. But after this all kind of the way that life panned out, I had a light bulb moment of, oh my gosh, like there's so many other people that need this, and so that's how it came about. But I'll give the condensed version of it because there's a lot of detail to it. But in middle school, high school, I played in about 40 basketball games, and my dad only went to one of those games. He was a very successful medical doctor. Like I said earlier, I thought I was going to follow in his footsteps and do medicine. And but I remember as a kid, like he'd miss the games, and I'm like, am I just not important for my dad? I'd score a basket and I'd look at the empty stands, no dad, but my teammates would score and their dad's on the sidelines cheering, Mom, there's my boy. And I remember looking at another dad while he's loving on his kid, and I was like, man, I wish that was my dad. And that would have crushed my dad because he's a good man, hard worker, great provider. And we always had nice homes, cars, and trips to Europe every summer. But when I needed him the most, he wasn't there. And so fast forward 20 years, this is now 11 years ago in 2015, he's entering his 40th year of his medical practice, and he thinks he's got a long run ahead of him. And there's this phrase, God laughs at man's plans. It wasn't in the future for him, but he was diagnosed with cancer early on in that year. And just a couple of weeks before he passed away, he said the words that are the foundation of everything that I'm doing now. He said, "Don't miss Leo's games. I miss too many of yours." And that hit me like a ton of bricks. First it was nice closure to those early days where I'm like, where's my dad at? And then more to current day, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm repeating my dad. I'm him all over again. I'm doing the nice homes, cars, and trips to Europe thing, just like my dad taught me in exchange of my presence. And so that's when it was instilled in me, like, I can't keep going like this. And that's when I had to change. And it took about 3 years because I was working 16-hour days. It's like, okay, great. I'm on board in this philosophy, but when am I going to do this? Easier said than done kind of attitude at the time. And then it took 3 years, $20 million business that year, printing money, like couldn't make any more money if I tried. And but I hated life because, like I said, world's worst org chart, me, 40 people, everything kept rolling back up to me. And I wanted to burn the thing down, and a coach and a mentor kind of advised me otherwise. And that was the foundation of the buyback time formula, which led to current day. Never missed any of my son's games, taught him how to negotiate real estate at 8 years old. To current day, he's got a podcast. He interviewed 25 people before the age of 11. He just turned 11 last week. And so that's just evidence of a present dad in a son's life. And yeah, that's kind of how we've made it to today.
That's a beautiful story, and you and I. The reason why when I wanted to have this interview as well was you and I resonate to that because my parents similarly, had to work and unfortunately couldn't attend a lot of my games, and I could relate to that. So I did have family members attend, but just wasn't the same, right? But I get it, I totally
Yeah.
understand that, man. So it segues into the book. Tell us about the buyback book, buyback
Yeah,
time
so it's
formula.
called Buyback Time Formula. I consider it a movement, and there's a book that happens to be the same name. And yeah, it's got all the frameworks and structures that I use to buy myself out of the founder prison, as I call it. So the complete path to transformation is in that book, and it can be found at buybacktimeformula.com. And it's actually free, just pay shipping. It's 128 pages. And there's some books you buy and it give you nice little tips, but then it's like, well, click here if you want the big secret, and that'll cost you $5,000. Like there's none of that in there. My information is available if somebody's like, I love it. I love the concepts, but man, I'm cash rich, time poor. I don't know when I'm going to implement this. Please help me. So I'm there to help and walk alongside the founder or the owner to get them out of the founder prison and then back reconnected with the family. And so it's really encompasses both. It's not like, hey, let's get your time back. Okay, now you're free to figure it out. It's like, okay, let's intentionally reconnect with our family, restore the bond that's been broken over years, and yeah, be the influence, be the man, be the dad that they were meant to be in their family versus just a check writer and that's it. Because those don't get remembered for too long for too much.
Writing it like how'd you put it together? Obviously it's through experience. Kind of like how I wrote my book. Like the way I did it was I first wrote I wrote the outline, and then from the outline I did the rough draft. From the rough draft, had a final product, and then I did the cover, and then eventually was a whole campaign to promote the book. Was it very similar, or tell me how'd you put it together?
Yeah, it was very similar. First, it was like, okay, here's where I'm at now. Now let's work backwards. So that's kind of, yeah, I don't know if people traditionally work like that, but I was like, okay, this is the lifestyle that I have now. How did I get here? And then it's just like, okay, what were the moments leading up to this? So yeah, it was like a backwards process, and then it was creating like a high level outline from it, and then sort of like filling in the blanks and where does the story fit in on all this. I have, kind of different, anecdotes and life situations in each of the different, steps and chapters on how this applied to me at the time. And, big, multi six-figure mistakes by not having this in place. So I really like to let people know there's pain associated with figuring this process out. It's not just, oh yeah, it feels good, it's nice to have. It's like, yeah, the reason I put this in place is because there was this $300,000 problem, and if I had this in place then, I wouldn't have had that problem. So this probably could help you too. So yeah, there's a lot of that. And then of course, now that we're living in the age of AI, which we didn't have that a few short years ago, it's great because I'll upload the whole thing and it'll tell me, does that make sense? It'll suggest, okay, maybe this should go here, or maybe it should flow better. So yeah, I'd say it was about 80% like completely originated from me, and then the last 20 was like assisted by AI, and then proofing, and then sort of like, all right, the cherry on top is making all the chapters kind of weave in together versus just like, thoughts, but like, bridging that gap. AI is really good with that. So yeah, kind of just using modern technology in an intelligent way, but not letting it think for me, just having it sort of amplify my thinking, if that makes sense.
I love it. No, that's fantastic. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And where could more people? First of all, George, fantastic interview. I thought you dropped a lot of great gems, and I'm looking forward for us to not just like splice some like key moments, but also someone who's interested to listen to the entire episode. So, thank you so much for being on my show for sure.
Thank you, Dr. B. It's been fun.
Yeah, thank you, man. Where could people find more information regarding the buyback time formula, or even find information about you?
Yeah. So, for Buyback Time Formula, just go to buybacktimeformula.com. There'll be a link to buy my book there. And like I say, just pay shipping, but it's a heavy book. And then there's links to my socials. I post every day on Facebook and LinkedIn. If you want to connect there, you want to say hi, you got any questions, easy to get a hold of. And yeah, and then my personal website's georgerivera.com, and that'll sort of lead you to the more kind of direct, advisory work that I do. But yeah, my goal is to just get the message out. And like I said, it's all in the book. You don't need me if you got the book, but some people will be like, yeah, I'm in that founder prison where you were 10 years ago. And just speaking for myself, I would have paid a small fortune to collapse the time it took me from going to prison a free. So if somebody finds themselves there, then hey, I'm here for you. I've been there and I can walk you through it.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, George. Thank you so much for being on my show.
All right. Thank you, Dr. B. It's been fun.
George Rivera, everybody. Take care.